Looks good.
Can everybody at home hear us?
Yeah, I can.
All right, thank you.
It's hot. And you heard orders? Yeah, the one orders now.
So, goal today, trying to build up the resources for the website that we have together. What was the name of that website? I guess Rapids Together.
Rapidstogether.com.
Okay. So we gotta getting that going. Either have Bill work with the speaker's office and have Adam help put together some graphics or something. We can start dropping content in there after today.
The other thing we gotta do is schedule a forestry committee.
Yeah.
Meeting for the forestry committee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, should be a fun conversation after talking to Tony.
Everything should be good to go. It's recording and audio is working, so.
Yep, all right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To figure out what the point of research. Well, good morning again, everybody. Thanks for those joining us again for the second day, and to those who are with us today for the first time this week. I feel like I should be an adjunct instructor here at Midstate by this point. Today, wanted to talk a little bit about the community aspect of what we're looking down the barrel of right here with the idling of Verso coming up at the end of July, and knowing now today the calendar very readily strikes you in the face of being the 1st of July, right? I mean, so it's something that is very apparent to everybody today. You know, the one side we talked about yesterday and trying to figure out some avenues, but today is kind of the what do we do next type of thing. So the goal that I had set out today is I wanted to at least talk through resources, talk through ideas, talk through concepts of what to do to keep the community lifted up and engaged and active and moving forward in their education, in their work skills, and in their family life. I mean, those are the components that we really wanted to break down today a little bit and figure out what is the plan. To that end, it also is behooving on this committee to start putting together the resources that we talked about at the main task force meeting to our website. So we've developed the website. Well, we haven't developed it. We purchased it. Our goal here also is to start putting towards that development of it. It's rapidstogether.com. It's a website that's not run by any one of our individual legislative website or legislative individuals. It's a collaborative link from our Legislative Technology Services Bureau at the Wisconsin State Legislature. So it's a very wide open, very collaborative idea that we're going to make sure that the entirety of the Wisconsin Rapids area, the employees, the residents, the community, all have access to every single bit of information that we can possibly compile that could reach anybody's aspect of this Verso idling. From the employment side, which we talked about a little bit yesterday, and the economic development side, to the community side today, which is the more engagement that we can get on that website for folks on the community side is, I think, the most important part of what we can do here today. So, that's why we kind of, pulled in Terry and, 211 and United Way to make sure that we are filtering ideas and, links that we can collaborate onto our new website and kind of steal a little bit from everybody's silo onto what your links are, whether it's, labor links that we could possibly tap into that can get production workers and another avenue to get to their information, Facebook names, places, everything like that. So we're going to get into a lot of that type of stuff today. One of the aspects that we also wanted to talk about a little bit was what had happened in this area back in the 1990s and kind of the plan that we had gone through then. So that's why it was kind of nice to have, some tried and true agencies who have dealt with this before, and North Central Workforce Development Board, and Cindy Kiesling, I think, might be with us today. I don't know if I see Cindy anywhere up there yet, but that's where we really wanted to at least tap into and start with at least Jane's attachment to this situation, and have Jane go a little bit further into the services that are available for employees. We had a lot of questions yesterday at our Economic Development Subcommittee about what does the idling status mean versus a closure? Are we eligible for TAA assistance? What's out there for education? Jane, if you could give us, some minutes here and kind of fill in what exactly employees could expect as of July 31st, that'd be great.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Cindy could not be here today. She was involved in another dislocation event, but I do have an update to provide. She has had good conversations with the company, and they have sent out a notice to the employees for upcoming information sessions. So this is the group, what we call rapid response. It's job center partners come together and provide workers with information on job center services and specifically the dislocated worker program. So notices have went out to the employees, and those information sessions will take place July 14th through the 23rd. Cindy has coordinated this with the technical college. There will be a combination of face-to-face and virtual meetings, depending on the individual's comfort level. I think that the technical college has done a wonderful job in helping us, with the social distancing, but also the technology to reach all of those workers. So that's where they will learn about services, again, from the partners in the job center system and the dislocated worker program through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, which is a federally funded program. And they'll get more information. I think what I had reported before was we are working to get the Wisconsin Rapids Job Center open. It's a priority in this area. We are working with our partners at the Department of Workforce Development to make sure that we've got the proper PPE and staff available to assist people. They will get notice that they can make appointments. The job center will not be open to the general public. It is only going to be open for the Verso affected workers, but they will need to call and schedule an appointment. but that will happen after these information sessions. Are there any questions on that?
So Jane, just wondering if there's something you can get us, just to drop a link onto this page that we're talking about that can kind of describe that too. Whether it's a PDF that we can just drop directly or a link to some information, that would be awesome, because that's a pretty big deal. And I think, as we work through, I know there was another situation that came up this week with the Ho Chunk Casino and some of the employees affected there. So I think we're going to have to push with DWD to kind of be a little more inclusive on opening that job center, unfortunately, as we're moving forward. So, and I don't want to mix items here, but that's a kind of important thing that came up too. So, if we can get some information that we can readily share with everybody on that and those connections, that would be amazing. So the question also came up yesterday from some folks here. In the past, we've had that TAA assistance, in closures before. Is this a situation that applies, or is that not applying here?
It could be. An application would need to be made, and I believe that is happening. I don't know the individuals who are actually filling out that application, but Cindy did report that the application is being submitted.
Okay, and then I know it's kind of more Cindy's aisle maybe, or unless you could maybe describe a little bit more to some people here and on the call what TAA actually would cover.
Actually, if Chris Porter is on, she may be able to. That is a program administered by the Department of Workforce Development at the state level. Chris, are you on?
I think we're hearing something. Hold on a second.
Yes.
Maybe not.
I can provide just a general overview. When a dislocation becomes certified as trade adjustment assistance, there are additional benefits to the affected workers. There's, it's very specific, and if, we can get you that information, but it is a program that's administered by the state.
All right, and we'll try to figure out if there's maybe we can try to reach out. If I see Jim Emerson's on the call also, maybe you could try to reach out to Caleb Frostman and see if we can get him to join in or send somebody that has some capabilities here, because I'd like to get it talked about a little bit more in detail today. Question came up from Stacy. Do we know if, as a part of the WIOA funding, if the training dollars are still available to companies that hire and retain Verso applicants?
That we would have to look into. I know right now we're working with the Department of Workforce Development on some special grants to what's called a recovery grant, which is through the Department of Labor. So we would have to look into that. We're just in the process of applying for that.
All right. Let's see. I see Christina said she's on having difficulties, but they will get us some information. All right. Any questions from anybody from the conversation we just had with Jane? Go ahead. Yep.
How long do you know before you get accepted for TAA?
Question came up, Jane, is how long before you know you've been accepted after the application for the TAA?
I don't know the exact date because that goes to the Department of Labor. We've had some that moved through quickly, and we've had some that we're still waiting to hear on from past dislocations. So it just kind of depends on how quickly the Department of Labor moves on those applications.
All right. So that was one of the big topics that we had wanted to get some information about today. So I wish I had more we could give you today. Unfortunately, it's not just right there. So we'll definitely make sure that it's ready to go as soon as humanly possible. Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. Also, just wanted to stay on that same vein and kind of talk a little bit more on that education component and stay involved with that a little bit. And I know, Midstate obviously and UWSP are both with us in person and on the call. Any connections right now between Midstate and Verso on just general conversations on things moving forward?
None that I've had.
Okay. So those are the things that and then maybe back to you again, Jane, who is making that application to TA? Who, is that a company applies for it? Is it?
Well, there's a variety of ways that it can happen. I don't want to speak for Cindy, but I thought it was the unions that were applying for that.
Okay. You guys heard about any of that process at all?
I believe Jenny Lauer is doing that on the shore side.
Okay.
The company told us that they weren't gonna do it initially because I believe what they're saying is they wanna maintain their force.
Okay.
So maybe later on, we'll do it.
All right, just a little side conversation for people on teams. We're just kind of talking about who was applying, who's been in the process, and it sounds like folks in labor have been in the process and getting started. That the company had indicated that they just didn't want to quite go there on their own yet. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So that's fine. I see Jenny's on the call today, and so I apologize, Jenny, that we did not get you the link to yesterday's meeting. Things are very, very fluid here, but I just wanted to have you weigh in as well on the education side from UWSP.
Yeah, we haven't had any conversations yet, and to me, that's where I'd be working closely with Jane and Cindy to make sure that we are able to assist in any way that's necessary or helpful.
Okay. I appreciate that. Go ahead.
So, Mark Singleton, I represent Verso, HR manager at the mill. So we've had additional conversations back to what Chad was talking about on the TA. I'm working with the company to see if we were going to start that process earlier.
Okay,
So hopefully we'll have a word on that in the next few days.
good.
Because a lot of the data, regardless of who makes the application, I know that we need to supply the business data.
Yeah.
So we'll keep the group updated on that process.
Good. Just for folks on teams who might not heard, HR from Verso's here and discussed that they're in the process of working through some of the TA conversation as well. So looks like we're going to be covered and in the process of that. So goal is to not necessarily meet every week here, but as we talked about yesterday in our subcommittee, is 2 weeks from now we'd reconvene this subcommittee as well. So hopefully within 2 weeks, there's a good amount of conversation on TAA and what's going to be out there and who's working on it. So and Jane and Cindy and also, the union and Verso can all weigh in and help out on that. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. Next side of the coin that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I know that Krista's sitting in here today from the chamber, and we got Scott Larson from the chamber, also from Marshfield. Just trying to talk about that employee side a little bit and those conversations that may have been had about attachment to workforce in other realms of the city. Krista, you want to come on up for a minute and maybe talk about what Angel and you and folks at the Chamber in Rapids have talked about? Then we'll have Scott on the hot seat as well. Sorry, I let you do it from there, but it's hard to hear on Teams, so.
You have to warn me this.
I know. Everybody's on the hot seat today. Be ready to be called on.
Angel's actually on vacation this week, so I'm covering some of her meetings, but we are in the midst of, she's reached out, I think she's talked to Mark.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that they had talked to us not wanting us to start off with a job fair right away, but with what's going on with the other industries now too, Angel and I are going to discuss as soon as she's back on Tuesday, getting that situated, trying to get, I know that some of them are going to need the basic skills too, from talking to the other employer that had some let go yesterday or on Monday. And so we are going to be working on that, getting there. We are a resource. We're here to help. We just need to be kept in the loop on everything. And Mark definitely let us know what we can do also. But we're looking at a job fair, basic essentials, the skills of interviewing. A lot of them haven't interviewed in 30 years, 27 years, at the other place either. So I think that'll be something working and out. United Way has a great program with the teens that they did the job training for interviewing resumes that to help them for summer jobs. And I think that'll be an opportunity to work with United Way and some other opportunities mid-state too. So I've got a list I'm working on and going over the notes, and next week you'll see more information on that stuff.
Good, thank you. And then Scott Larson from Marshfield, I saw you were on and off there. You still on, Scott?
I am here yet.
Awesome. Could you kind of go through with us? I mean, you've had the more recent experience, obviously, with Figgies. Can you kind of go through how that situation played out as far as reattachment to the workforce for employees in the Marshfield area?
Sure. Similarly, obviously something that happened immediately, and so was an immediate engagement. We want to be mindful too of working with the other partners, working with Jane and the education institutions to make sure that these workers have access to the incentives that are going to be made available to them, and that they have a chance to engage those incentives. And then, as Krista mentioned, we've been working very closely with Heart of Wisconsin to make sure we shared our template of what we went through with preparing for. We had 2 job fairs for the Figgies shutdown, which coincided with the 2 phase outs that they had of layoffs. We also, as Krista mentioned, we want to make sure that there are resume writing services available, interviewing services available, and do that. And then when appropriate here, we'll engage with the Heart of Wisconsin. I know Todd from Portage County Business Council would be interested too, because there's job opportunities there. And that's really where we're at this point is in the preparatory plan here, helping Heart of Wisconsin get ready for if we need to have job fairs put together. And we've been fielding calls on our end here in the Marshfield area about other businesses who are inquiring about availability of workforce. So there is some obvious interest there in seeing what type of workforce might be available.
Good. I appreciate that. It was one of the questions I was going to ask today too, and maybe I'll double back with Todd. I know there's a lot more folks from the Stevens Point area who are commuters to Wisconsin Rapids. Do you have a good indication how many Marshfielders are commuters to Wisconsin Rapids to Verso?
I have not looked that up. I'm sure there are a few, probably more so in the Stevens Point area than here in the Marshfield area. But no, I'm sure we've got some, particularly as you reach out into the smaller community areas like the Auburndales and the Pittsvilles, and that there'd be a lot more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. See that Stacy had a question there. John, can you read me what Stacy had asked there at the bottom?
Yeah. Stacy Johnson, do we need to bring in folks to work with people regarding their health care and benefits? Transitioning healthcare has been a big concern in the past.
That has, and that's the biggest question we're getting right now from employees who contact me directly is what is up with that and what's the plan. So maybe that's something that maybe Jane, I'm not sure if you've got some resources or ideas on that connection.
There are topics like that get covered in the rapid response meetings, along with unemployment insurance and then benefits through the dislocated worker program. It's things that get discussed during those rapid response meetings. I also just wanted to add what Scott was talking about, commuters. During those rapid response meetings, we also have a survey that the Department of Workforce Development developed, and we start that, which kind of gives us, not only demographics and a little bit more information, but then additional questions about things that they might be interested in, because then we work with our local training providers on putting together, like small training, short-term training ideas on employer need in the area. And like Scott, we've been getting a lot of calls from different businesses wanting, how do they tap that? And I've been directing them to the Heart of Wisconsin website for their job fair that they're planning. But, we're all trying to kind of work with that together so that we're meeting those needs.
Good.
One thing that when I met with the other company yesterday, they highly suggested that we had like a health and wellness fair otherwise too, with insurance, different options that way, which we could probably tie in the job fair too, because that was their main concern was also was the health insurance for their employees, whether they qualify for Medicare, whether they don't, what their options.
Good. Just for folks on Teams, just a discussion with Krista from the Wisconsin Rapids Chamber here about their plans for resource fairs and reach out from the other closure that we just heard about, or not closure, but layoffs that we just received notice on, about having resource fairs not only just for employment, but for healthcare and other related issues. So that's in the works also. So I appreciate that. Thanks for the question, Stacy. To that end, I wanted to put all that, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Can I just clarify? So, Gene, when you're saying the rapid response meetings, are those the ones that will be taking place the 14th to the 24th?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The question was, when you talk about the rapid response teams and getting that information, is that what you were referring to earlier from the time from the 14th to the 23rd, I think you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my comment on that is I think people are panicking now. Like you said, you're getting questions, especially about health insurance and things like that.
Right.
And if we're talking about stress levels and family and all that, I think, is there any way we can get information to them before the 14th? Because 2 more weeks of panicking as the end of the month approaches, that's really cutting the limit, especially on people's well-being and stress levels. So is there any way we can get them information about some of the common things like health insurance and their options before the 14th?
Well, we're putting together.
Right. So just, I don't know, so that was my thought is there any way we can get them information before then? Even just some teasers so they could look up things on their own or.
Yeah, that's where I think that might be helpful if, yeah, I don't know if you could hear very well. Could you hear that, Jane?
I heard a little bit of it.
Okay, so we were talking about maybe, with the stress level and approaching the end of July and just now getting information out that the middle of July, we might have some more information for people. It might be causing a little bit more stress and causing some mental health concerns for some. Is there a way to facilitate any of that information any quicker?
I will work with Cindy on that because she's working closely with the company. I believe it's Mike from Verso on getting that information out. So she did a 1-page information just to let them know that these are coming. And then she sends out an invitation to that. And I'll find out what else can go out.
Well, I'm going to bring Terry up in 1 minute. That's why I was trying to build everything up to Terry's spot in the program. So, Chad, go ahead.
I went and talked to Nicole from Jeff Clark and Associates, and to me, she's helpful. They explained the Affordable Care Act, what your options are, and how it's based on your future income and all that kind of stuff.
Good.
I don't know if there's somebody that we can bring in for a group meeting. Well, I'll tell you, she's knowledgeable and helped me a lot.
Good. That's a good point to bring up for our congressional delegation, is if we could maybe have a debriefing on ACA for displaced individuals. That would be something that Representative Tiffany, Representative Kynes' office might be able to help out with, or Senator Johnson, Senator Baldwin, if anybody's on from there. That would be awesome. That's a great resource.
Navigators available, so maybe getting some navigators that will come in.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me of that. So I'm going to do John's question, then Terry, I'm going to have you come up and kind of.
We believe that the employees have insurance through the end of the following month of the last day they work.
Okay.
And when we are involved in effective bargaining, we will be talking about extension of that coverage.
Yeah.
Probably not vital at the end of July. That I think that everybody's got coverage for a period of time yet.
That's good to know too. And then we had talked a little bit with Verso about effects bargaining, and that was opening next week, kind of kicking off. Okay. Timing is just crazy on that, isn't it? I mean. So I just wanted to bring up all of those things to kind of kick off where Terry Johns and United Way can help be the collaborative connection of the resources here. So Terry, come on up and thank you. I'm smiling, just so you know.
So just a couple of thoughts on what we were just talking about. We do have a publication in print already. It's called Help Guide, and it's just a trifold brochure that could carry people over for that 2-week time frame. There's a link on our website, so if you tell us where to send links, we can get that up, but if there's a way that those could be distributed, I mean, we have them in our office, so that's something, I don't know if Phil or, if those can get out. But as far as wraparound service, I think, 211 is probably one of the best opportunities that folks have as they have questions. To call. We've been making sure that all of our local resources are as up to date as possible. And I think what's important about that is we can direct people to programming, but also identify where there's gaps. So if we've got folks calling and saying, I'm looking for this, I don't know how to do this, who can I connect with? We can keep record of where the gaps are. And then when this group reconvenes, we can say, here's where the holes are, here's what most people are calling for. So I think that's something that's important as well. And then all of those, our Financial Stability Coalition is very happy to help out with the interviewing skills and those kinds of things that Krista was referring to earlier. So if that gets set up, we've got professional volunteers in the community who are willing to be part of that process and connect, whether that be one-on-one kind of mentoring or small group settings. So I think that there's a lot of volunteers and folks in the community and community nonprofits and other programs that are wanting and willing to help, but they need to know where and how.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
We have a raised hand from Scott Larson.
Scott, go ahead.
I'm just typing out a message here. One of the things I wanted to note was, I think, Scott, you had said there was somebody from HR from Verso that was there. When we went through the Figgy's closure, we worked very closely with Figgy's HR department, and that was extremely helpful in going through this whole process, and particularly in planning for the job fair. So I would just hope that that opportunity would be available too if we need to go ahead and plan job fairs.
All right, thank you. Oops, sorry about that. Thought I turned that on. So, and then Terry, could you describe a little bit more to people, when there's a 211 call, where's that going?
Sure.
How does it get filtered?
So 211, it's almost nationwide, but we do have statewide coverage 24/7, and this is for information, resource, and referral. When someone calls 211 between the hours of 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, they get a local resource specialist, and so they are actually housed in our local United Way office. So people who live here, work here, are aware of programs and are well connected. So that's probably the best time to call. We do have an after hours agreement with a very large call center in Milwaukee, and they handle all of our after hours and weekends calls, but we're all on the same database, so they can access the same information. And 211 also has an online database, so you can actually, you could search on your own if you wanted to by putting in keywords, maybe I need, maybe someone's looking just for clothing for interviews or something like that, any sort of community resource that might be available. But the best probably time to call is between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, because you are getting somebody local who is, very hyper aware of programs here in Southwood County. And if someone's looking for programs outside of that area, again, it is statewide. So we really can access, if you're really trying to understand, maybe you live in Marshfield, work in Rapids, you're not sure what you're going to do next, we can get you that information as well.
Good. And then one of the other things I wanted, and one of my main concerns in this situation is I don't have a lot of concerns about the highly skilled workforce from Verso attaching somewhere, but I do know that it's going to cause other displacements down the line, right? Mm-hmm. So as we get some more highly skilled people into some of these businesses that are looking for a better prepared workforce, some of those individuals who are less prepared and less skilled are going to be moved down the chain. Does United Way work well with the county for resources for individual, for food sharing, connecting them with that to help connect them to where to apply for that?
All of that, and all of that is actually covered in that resource guide that we have. But yeah, so 211 is navigating people through food share, through even just local. What can we bridge? Whether it's with the pantry or other food service weekend backpack program. If we're talking specifically about food, but there's 2,700 local. 2,700 programs in the database. So 211 specifically is very, very good with that. But yes, as there is the trickle down and as we see potentially more dislocations down the road, I would say that connecting with 211 or our United Way office directly is probably the best way to get connected with what resources are there. And again, to help us bridge gaps, because that's how we find out what's missing.
Good. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Any questions anybody has for me specifically?
Anybody online? Oh, I don't think
Okay.
so. Thank you again.
Yep.
So that was one of the reasons we kind of picked on Terry originally at our first meeting to kind of be a spearhead and be a part of this process, because 211 has been a vital resource throughout the years in this community. Not the first time we've seen things like this. One of the other resources that came up that I didn't know if we wanted to talk about a little bit too much or not, but I'm going to put Verso back on the spot. And I know you've got an internal information resource that that employees are able to access. Would that be something that if we were able to, I mean, is that a password protected thing? Like if we put a link to that on our Rapids Together, that employees could have that as another link to get to that, or they're all tapped into that already and they know where to go and how to use it? And okay.
I don't mind, putting that out there. It's an internal website. It's
Right.
our intranet.
Okay.
That has a link to Middle Link, any documents we fill or any, and then the ability to ask questions. Most answers out there almost on a daily basis.
Okay.
That Mark actually provides a lot of information for, as well as Mike without.
Could I maybe ask you to come up and maybe describe what resources are available on there, or Phil, maybe one of you guys want to come up and kind of talk through what employees might be able to access so we know? Sorry, just putting people on the spot today, but sorry, Phil. Yeah.
He likes that dog.
I know, I always thought Phil liked the attention, so.
There's a microphone? There is? No, I'm Phil Hartley. I'm the communications manager for Verso in Wisconsin. So just what Scott was talking about when this first came out, we quickly set up a link on our website where we put out any documents that come out about the idling, as well as the ability for our team at the mill to ask questions of any sort about the idling and what's happening, and then we quickly try to get answers out and post them and there's several different topics, there's several different headers about retirement, about severance, about the few during the idling, what's coming out afterwards. So there's probably about 12 different topics. We update them daily and get that information out and try to make sure our people know about it. There's still a lot to be determined. A lot is going to be happening through the effects bargaining. So a lot of our questions, unfortunately, are to be determined yet. So I know that's caused us some angst and some frustration, but it is the process we have to go through. And so that'll be a lot more questions coming out over the next week or two as far as having those answers out there for our people to see. We put a lot of effort into making sure people know about this website, but I definitely need help amongst all of our people to let people know that that's out there and that those questions and answers are there, including our union leadership. That's some of them here today that take great pride in helping our people. So I appreciate their help too, obviously. It's been a good relationship that way. So, but yeah, it's frustrating, it's hard, and we're doing our best to get the information out there for our people. Good. And it's an amazing group of people to work with. So we want to find a way to make this happen.
It might be worth to share that on the Rapids Together site.
Yep, I can help with that.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep. So that's kind of our goal, is obviously making sure that everybody knows everything about everything. And I don't want to get into the effects bargaining and what the company wants and what the union wants. And I don't want to get into that, but it is a topic that we do have to address, at least for a couple minutes here today, is to figure out timing of that. And, I don't want to talk about details of what the discussion is going to be, but I'd like to know, John, if you could maybe tell me an expected timeline for that process.
We have dates scheduled next week, Monday through Friday, so I would assume by the end of next week, unless they run longer, but
Right.
should be done.
Okay. And just for folks on Teams, we had talked about the timeline for the effects bargaining that's going to happen. And, well, maybe John, you want to come up for a minute and just maybe describe, there's probably a lot of people that don't even know what that is. Sorry, but just another resource for people to know what's coming and as they share with their silos. And again, not ask you too much about detail, but
Okay.
just process and what it means. And
I'm John Krings with the United Steelworkers Local 187. We have effects bargaining dates planned for next week. Currently, we're scheduled to meet Monday through Friday. So we would assume that by the end of next week, we should have done whatever we're going to do.
what is effects bargaining?
Well, it would entail all the language in the contract, how it's enforced, what benefits are available, how long they would be available, recall rates, if there would be any type of severance package, what the arrangements are around the severance, you know, if employees stick around or take a severance. So I guess all that would be in play.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just, it's so much easier to have people come up and then repeat everything, so I appreciate that. So those are things that kind of go into play as we're working through this, is getting that information discussed and processed and completed so we can have a little better resource for community members. What am I looking at?
Jane Spencer's question.
All right, so Jane has got something here. In past dislocations, we found community resource fairs to be helpful for impacted workers and families. Is there interest with community members to host a resource fair in late August? It sounds like yes, I think we're more than willing and able to do that. So the best we can pull that together as quickly as we can pull it together, that would be awesome. So that's a great question, Jane. I think at this point I turn over to Representative Shanklin if you got any questions or topics that you wanted to bring up.
Sure. We still haven't heard back from Verso after sending that letter on Friday regarding the potentially considering the work share program. So I know, our goal is to try to talk to them this week about that. I'll keep trying on my end. I don't know if you've heard anything. So that's the main thing that I have, and I'm happy to be here, and thanks for hosting this.
Absolutely. I see Representative Vandermeer is with us today too. I just wanted to say hello, and sorry I missed you yesterday at caucus, but anything of yours that you'd like to add right at this point?
I really look forward to working with the task force and doing the best that we can in all aspects for the employees and community surrounding Wisconsin Rapids. As you know, that impacts our district to a great degree as well. So I'm looking forward to the best we can do for everyone. So thank you, Scott.
Absolutely. So that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. I mean, if you look at the list of folks joining us online, it's a pretty extensive list of people who are listening in. We're not all here, but everybody's listening and concerned and into this right now. So one of the things we put together yesterday from our subcommittee was kind of action steps of things that we need to see completed and dealt with. So we put together quite a list of things that people should be prepared to bring back to us in the next couple of weeks. I want to do the same thing here today. First of all, to get these links together and the information together, our main filtering source to get all that information to us is going to be our legislative email address. It's going to be either just sen.teston@legis.wisconsin.gov or rep.krug@legis.wisconsin.gov. That's where we'd like to have as a main clearinghouse to get any links to any information you have, whether it's a link to just a general link to Midstate or a more direct link into programs that you think might be applicable to individuals for retraining. Whether it's from Verso to drop in, some of the information that they've got for us, definitely United Way and 211, community resources from the chambers. Jane's going to have some contributions that she'll be putting out there for the meetings for the 14th to the 23rd. And my goal here is within the next 2 weeks to have this website is populated with links and information at a level we haven't seen before, that I want to be able to have everything laid out for anybody who's got any concerns by mid-July about idling at the end of July, that they know where they can go for an answer for something. And I think it's incumbent on everybody here and everybody on the call that we make sure that there is no gap in resources or no gaps in information. So we are going to reach out with the county this week to make sure they're prepared. I mean, it's going to be every one of their services involved from the food share and the financial side of it to even the child support agency. I mean, they're going to have to be involved too, because there's going to be so many changes in so many people's situations that we're going to need to have all that information compiled and where people can go. And it's not to say that, we're doing that because we know they're going to be overwhelmed with information, because they are. It's doing it because people are going to be overwhelmed with concerns. And those are things that have to be addressed. So as we work through that economic development side, that's what the process that we have to work through here is, making sure everybody's protected and that every resource is available. Senator Teston, you got any topics that you wanted to bring up, or concerns or points?
So, Scott Larson, are you still on the line? Still, Scott?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, Scott, one of the questions I have for you, when you worked with the Figgies, closure, when you worked with their HR, what was that process? Was it a case where work with the HR department, getting descriptions of those various jobs, and then using the Job Center of Wisconsin website to kind of match those individuals up? Because if that's the case, I think that might be helpful working with Verso's HR to get a list of those job descriptions and then taking a look at what's available within the area. Because on the Job Center website right now, within 25 miles of Wisconsin Rapids, we have nearly 900 job openings here in the area. Now, granted, those aren't all going to be applicable for the jobs that are being displaced, but if we can kind of work together and line those up, I think that might help people land on their feet if we do in fact get to the end of the month and we're at an idle.
Yeah, that was just part of the services that we worked with Figgies HR through. They were also extremely helpful in working with helping their people, helping them direct them through the process. Also in regards to helping them with any resume and interviewing questions and things of that nature, so that it was a seamless aspect of sharing information, and they knew their staff the best, and so they could very quickly and easily relay information to their workforce as well. So that's kind of the full range of engagement that we had with their HR.
Okay, no, that's helpful. So I mean, if Mark, if you're able to work with us and then Crystal at the chamber and then also work with the folks at the job center, I think we can kind of start getting an idea of what's out there and start matching up people with potential new employment opportunities.
We can do that in the appropriate time. I'll come up and just kind of talk about what I'm used to as far as partnering with resources, and then I can talk a little bit more about effects bargaining also.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just real quick, as he's coming up, I just wanted to relay to Representative Shanklin. I did just get an email back from Josie Galvin, the EA, to Adam St. John. So they're gonna try to set up a phone call with us for 10 or 15 minutes in the week upcoming here.
So Mark Singleton, I'm the HR manager at the Verso Mill, and then we also support some of the other corporate functions that we have at the mill. Just a couple things, because we're doing the idling, we obviously need to get as much resources out to our team members as much as possible. And I think talking with the union, talking with Cindy, I think there's certain things that we all definitely need to do right away. And that's I think the rapid response makes a lot of sense. The career fairs make a lot of sense. We may want to wait a little bit longer on actually have employers coming as far as job fairs. Maybe that's another 30 days out. So that's just something I want the task force to think about. Just because if we do have an interested buyer, then, that takes us a different direction. But we can't do nothing, because if we wait too long, then we've lost some valuable time, especially around the training program. So I think all that's very, very good. It will either be myself or one of my staff, probably Ingrid Burkhart, that will also be a good partnership, because we're going to be tied up with effects bargaining for the next few weeks. But we can get a lot of data. I'm working on some demographic data. We can get addresses and that type of thing for commuters, and we can work on the job description. So we can do all of that. The other thing I would say about effects bargaining, we actually have 5 unions. The USW has 2 locals, but we have 5 unions that represent our team members at the mill. So we're going to have multiple sessions of effects bargaining. The USW next week. The following week, we're going to meet with all the craft unions. That's the IAM, who represent our machinists and our millwrights. We've got the UAJ, who represents our pipe fitters, and then we also have the IBW. And then we also have a small group of office workers, the OPIU, that we'll have a session with. So we got to work out, the comfort level of each of the unions of how they want to participate in bargaining and how we meet. So it's got to be a joint process. But those are scheduled through the week of the 22nd of July. So hopefully we can have all those answers and get everything done by end of July.
Mark, how many are staying on the conversion plants or whatever for the end of the year? Or they had the employees are staying on, how many are expected to stay on?
Can you just repeat the question for people first, Mark? Sorry.
So the question was, how many people are going to stay on? We're actually finalizing that information. I think I can share more specifics after we provide that to the unions and all that. But approximately, I think, we're looking at, after July and idling, we'll have some more people stay on for cleanup and getting the mill where it needs to be. And then we'll have what's the core operation going to be for what's going to continue to run after that. So, we're probably talking 150 to 250 people, somewhere in that range, but we need to finalize all that.
Any other questions? Plugging these up. Awesome. Thank you for the.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to play devil's advocate here. Senator Tristan is very kind to mention the fact that there are 900 jobs, but that's not overreacting. These 900 jobs, how many of them provide a livable wage? And that's very important because people are supporting families. These people that work at the mill and then very close to these families support families, and they need to have something that's going to be workable, not working at a fast food restaurant or working at a Dells. And it's something that we have to work with to try to get training where these guys can actually progress into a good career.
Right. So a question came up for folks on teams about, when there is a transition from these family supporting, good paying wage jobs to other jobs in the community. How, are we making sure we're making that transition as equal or better in some cases or not? The concern obviously from us too is, we don't want to start placing people where they're not good fits. So I think the best answer is these resource fairs, the job fairs, the collaborations we're having right now and conversations with other manufacturers in the area. I think we're going to, and I was blown away when I was sitting with Verso on Monday on just, the level of pay. I mean, what we're looking at, you're right. We're staring down the barrel of something catastrophic here from people losing, one of the best situations you could ever walk into and walking into second best. And that's a struggle. So that's why the first goal yesterday is to make sure that doesn't happen. The second goal today is to try to alleviate that from happening to be the worst case scenario. We're not going to be able to solve that job for job across the economy we have in central Wisconsin, but we're gonna do our damn best to make sure we do. So I get your concern. I feel it too. Todd, you raising a hand or just adjusting? Okay, good. So that's where we're relying right now, is kind of the same place we were yesterday. Everybody's a bit overwhelmed. There's a lot of things that people don't know. There's a lot of the answers we're not even going to have until mid-July or late July. That's going to be the struggle. And that's why this subcommittee was probably the more important of the two this week, is to make sure that we're putting all those resources together for the what if. That's the biggest thing that we've got to figure out in the next week or so. Be dropping information between each other and collaborating it and getting it to us. So we have those what if scenarios. So if people run into that situation, we can be as rapid as we possibly can as an information source. I mean, it's going to take the media as well to be part of that discussion. Tomorrow, I've always had my monthly radio show on WFHR, but I know a lot of us in here also do. That's where we're going to have to keep talking about the same exact thing between all of us between now and the end of July and August. RapidsTogether.com can have these resources available. We're going to collaborate between the economic development side and the community side. I would ask that you would spend a great deal of time on WFHR divulging that information and going over what the goals are of what we're working on. So if somebody doesn't tune in on a Friday morning to hear me, that they're hearing Terry on another day, or Shane on another day, or Senator Teston on another day. That's probably the biggest divulgement of information in the central Wisconsin Rapids area is WFHR. You know, the newspaper, we couldn't even get them to come yesterday or today. Can't rely on them anymore. It's not really a local paper, and it hasn't been for a while. And that's one of the concerns we have. Yes, there's reporters who occasionally will help. It's tough. That's the third leg of this, is how do we get that information out? We can have all the websites in the world we want. We can have all the, the connections and resources compiled into one single place. But how do you get that name of that place out to somebody else community-wide, not just sector, not just, through the employees, but for the entire rest of the community? How are we going to get that information out? So I am open to any and all ideas on how to divulge that information further.
Scott, it's probably occurred to you, but let me share with the group. I am sure we could get someone in the assembly to do us a public service announcement that points people to the Rapids Together website and ask the stations to air it. That would help.
Yeah, it does help. And, even when we had the news stations here for the first meeting, they reported on it, and we got, 3 minutes on Channel 7 and 3 minutes on Channel 9, and that's not enough, right? So that consumption of information is going to be critical.
I was just gonna say the same thing, so especially WFHR, for the last couple of months during COVID, will take any educational content, as long as you put it into the 60-second.
Yeah.
So if you record it, you can just do it over the phone, they'll play it all day long, over and over and over. So even if we're talking about, health insurance, or, where to go for resources, or any of those things, if you record those 30 or 60-second slots, they'll just play them over and over and over. And James works with you, it's super, super easy. I encourage everybody to do that. So if you have information, just type it out and then just read it off, and they'll get it on, and they'll play it over and over and over.
That's golden. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a PSA. The FCC requires them to do this, and they are usually more than happy to comply with multiple repetitions. So.
Go ahead.
I know a lot of people have no use for a computer. If they're working a paper mill, a laborer, they don't have computers at home. And I had mentioned something, I called WFHR once about this. When a library was closed, a lot of people didn't have access to a computer. Now they have a limited number of computers available at the library. But we need to get more computers. It's great to have a website, but if nobody can get access to it, we're not doing what we should be doing for the people that need the help.
Yeah.
Job service or anybody else, can they provide more computers?
Yeah, for people in teams, the concern came up on consumption of information, people not having access to computers and internet, and where do they go to achieve that, and where can we help that out a little bit? And I think, the libraries being open again has been a little bit more helpful, as was pointed out in the question. But I don't know if Mid-State's not open lab computers at all anymore, is it, or?
For the public, we have limited hours.
Yeah, okay.
But they can come in and use computers in the library.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And once we get the job center open, we can also help with the computers, accessing computers.
Good. And I think that's something that is really going to be important, is making sure that that information is available outside of, again, we've always had this struggle as elected officials, all of us in this room who try to get information out to people the best we can. It's even a struggle for us sometimes. So yeah, the PSA idea was great. See, it's come up on chat now. They turned my head a little bit, sorry also. And then, did I see another question, John, or no? Oh, I think that was
Job
it.
center, computers.
Katrina posted.
Yeah, Katrina posted, due to state law. Yeah. Oh, there we go. We can only. Right, yeah. So our PSAs aren't going to be as effective as somebody like Terry John's PSA is going to be. Oh, sorry.
NRG Media will run them also.
Okay, good.
So they're wider reach.
So that's what we're going to need. I think it would be better, as Representative Shanklin said, if it wasn't a state elected official, because we are under constraints on how much information we can deliver, because unfortunately this happens during campaign time, which, adds another caveat to every discussion that we have to have too. Well, yeah, in a 2-year cycle, we're campaigning all the time, but this is I can't do both at the same time type time from April to November, so.
The job center, what is the job center, what are they?
What's that?
Job center,
What about it?
like when they're, I mean, the full blown, I know they can do some things and that, I know that you said you wanted it open, what does it look on that?
Yeah, so that's the conversation we had with Caleb Frostman at DWD, the secretary's office, talking about how do we open job centers more readily for the community right now? And Jane had touched on it earlier that we're looking to do it for affected employees right now, but there's gotta be an avenue that we can do it a little bit better. But that's another link that we're gonna make sure is on our Rapids Together site too, is the job center link. Links to DWD, links to unemployment. And that's the discussion we haven't even started yet today is, what happens with unemployment? And I don't know if anybody from DWD is on, but the microphone problems we're having are out there. But so that kind of a good transition to that last topic I wanted to kind of get into is that the DWD's issues with unemployment right now and how it affects people moving forward, because that's going to be one of the bigger bottlenecks that we're facing. So as everybody knows, you hear it in the media, you hear it everywhere else that, some people have been waiting 8, 10, 12 weeks for their unemployment assistance. And to be fair to DWD, that's not everybody. But to be fair to those applicants who are struggling without it, it is a massive problem already. And when you add a massive idling situation where you've got 900 directly affected and thousands others who are going to be impacted indirectly, we got a situation we got to deal with at the state. So DWD and Jane touched on it a little bit earlier, and Cindy's talked about it a little bit earlier, and Caleb Frostman has told us as well as the legislative liaison at DWD, that they do have dedicated teams. They're going to work directly with a situation as it arises. But we're going to make sure that we don't just trust but verify that, because that's going to be absolutely critical. Because the other component of the conversation on unemployment is that the $600 per week additional that's out there right now is going to end at the same time that this happens. And that's a struggle. And we've had that conversation earlier on too, that, politically, I don't like that in some circumstances for reasons that disincentivizes people to go back into the workforce. But in this situation, it's almost critical that we talk to our congressional delegation about trying to extend that. There's just no way around it. Folks can't go from the paychecks they're collecting right now to $300 a week in unemployment and us expect them to be able to survive and get through. In the short term, there's really no choice but to advocate for that extension. And I don't know where Congress is on that right now, but it'd be nice we're going to talk to Congressman Kind, hopefully today yet, and Congressman Tiffany soon, hopefully as well, and our senators as well in their offices. But, how do we not at this point advocate for that? So that's kind of where we're at with DWD.
Couple of comments that I should
Sure, sorry.
bring everyone's attention to.
Let's see. They're kind of scrolling too fast for me. What was above Jenny's there, John? Can you scroll back down?
That was my comment that says PSAs need not be recorded by an elected.
Oh, yeah, okay. So Jenny had pointed out, in order to make sure every employee is able to achieve family supporting wages in their new career, need to be ready to clearly communicate the educational opportunities available. Yeah, that's a great point, and that's what I was going to try to get to a little bit too as well. Stacy says she agrees the survey of those that worked with show opportunity for education is one of the, okay, good. So let's do that a little bit. And, it's hard to know exactly what is going to be available as far as assistance for the employees for education opportunities, but I know Midstate stands ready, and they always have, and they've been a strong partner in programming and everything throughout the years. And as an alumni of Midstate, I'm proud that you guys are able to help us out as much as you humanly possibly can. So I think, Jenny, in the next 2 weeks, we're probably going to be able to better have that conversation once we know, effects bargaining is on its way and some of the TAA stuff is out there. I know there's opportunities and programs, but we've got to figure out how to help individuals pay for them first as we go through the conversation. So I think we might table that for a little bit until we get.
If I could just add, Scott.
Yep.
Just so everyone in the room is aware, Midstate is at those rapid response meetings.
Yeah.
So we will be talking directly with the.
Well, coming up, sorry. Yeah, teams aren't going to be able to hear you then. Sorry. It's a new world.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Yep, Craig Bernstein. I'm the manager of workforce development here at Midstate. Just so everyone's aware, Midstate is involved with those rapid response meetings for the workers. So they will be able to get those educational opportunities, that information directly at those meetings that are coming up here in a couple weeks. Until we know what kind of funding is available, though, it's a little hard to, tell them which direction to go into. But we are there. We'll have the computers available here. We do have career awareness, a course, absolutely free course through our link, our library, where they go in, they set up a job center account, do the interview, mock interviews, resume writing, all that kind of stuff. So they can do the career exploration and the career skills all right through our link. So just another resource, and we'll have those links for the website.
Thank you.
Sure.
And maybe Jenny, maybe you could touch on a little bit of what people could access right now virtually at UWSP. I know that I actually enrolled in a couple of the free classes that came up a couple of weeks ago, so I'm now a student again, so to speak, at UWSP. Could you kind of fill us in on some of those opportunities?
Good to hear you took advantage of that. Unfortunately, those all ended. Yes, the free version ended yesterday. We're trying to get that extended. So it would be wonderful, and Jane, is that you or Cindy I would work with to make sure that I can get a career specialist at those rapid response meetings as well?
Either one of us can help with that.
Okay, because I think there are tremendous pathways between Midstate and UWSP that, are worth noting, or just programs in the healthcare fields or whatever, the displaced worker is interested in. But we have, I will send the links for the rapidstogether.com so that you have the links to our, the appropriate contact person, the adult student, career specialist and recruitment person that has all of the information for online programs, face-to-face programs, the pathways from Midstate to our programs, articulation agreement. So it's out there. We just need to get it in front of the right people.
It's funny, one of the classes I signed up for was how to develop a website, so it's good training. So.
Good timing.
Yeah, WordPress is my struggle, so. All right, thank you so much, Jenny, appreciate that. All right, so I think those are action steps for this coming 2-week period. 2 weeks from today, same meeting, same subcommittee. We set that up for yesterday's subcommittee as well for a 2-week span for people to develop some more ideas and have action completed and get things to us. Links, reach out to media, even somebody volunteering who was not under the 50-piece rule to do some PSAs. Terry's good. She's volunteered. That's perfect. And, those are very vital things. I mean, that outreach, getting that information to us is one thing, but like I said, distributing that information is a monumental task. So as much as you can distribute that within your own institutions and your own employer base and those you represent in whatever way, shape, or form, that's much appreciated. We're going to, what is it, 2 weeks from today was the date again?
15th.
15th. So the 15th at 10 a.m., I'd like to come back together, sit down in here and show you Rapids Together, how it's laid out, all the links, all the resources, so we can walk through and find out any gaps that exist in that and then redevelop that from there. Any other questions, concerns, ideas? Todd, go ahead.
The only thing I want to point out is when we do the job fairs, just make sure we include the building trades.
Yes.
You can set that up if you want, but, I represent plumbers and steam fitters, but I do know the electricians, the millwright, or the carpenters, iron workers, they're all short skilled labor. So when we do have people that will come in for those job fairs and work that through, apprenticeship can't get better than education.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that comment. So work directly with Krista.
And I know that I had some people reach out to me, like their husbands are in apprenticeships right now, like halfway through or whatever, wondering if they could get into end of year, so that'll be something that we'll have to look into.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. Any other questions, comments, concerns, issues for the order? ahead.
Scott, I didn't catch that. When is the next meeting? Did you say the 15th?
15th, yeah.
At that time, they should have some information about the meetings they had.
Yep. That's what my goal is, to hopefully have those things underway and at least further in the process. I mean, I don't know if everybody's going to be solved and settled by then, obviously, but we'll definitely have updates on it. Next meeting also, we're definitely going to have DWD here, either on the phone or in person. Maybe we could get Secretary Frostman to kind of lay out the exact details of that team approach to unemployment. I think it's going to be an important thing too. Other than that, I think we are good to go for the day. All right. Doesn't seem to be any questions on Teams or anybody in the room. So thank you all for coming today, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Happy 4th of July.